Hey, ghoul friends, welcome to the Freaky Femmes podcast. I guess we should start by introducing ourselves. I'm Em.
And I'm Doll. And we're just two sinister sisters investigating things that go bump in the night with a morbid sense of humor. Sinister Sisters is a tongue twister for sure.
Yeah, it really is.
If you're looking for us, you can find us on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, and we're going to be Freaky Femmes on all those, so you can find us wherever.
We thought it would be a great idea to start off with our first encounters of the creatures of the night.
Yeah, so what was your first encounter? Like, how old were you?
I would say I was probably maybe like 4 or 5. To set the scene, we lived in a trailer and I shared a room with 3 of my sisters, I believe, at the time. No, it wouldn't have been 3 because I was 4. So, would have been would have been 2. So,
Too many sisters.
yes, too many to keep count of. Almost every night, we would have like a bunk bed. We had 2 bunk beds, and so I believe I was on the top, and then one of my sisters on the bottom, and then we had like a maybe like a full size bed in this tiny room
Mm-hmm.
in a trailer, and we had the ambiance of this weird 90s looking lamp. It was like orange. Do you remember that lamp? I don't know
No.
how long we had it after the trailer,
That sounds
but
creepy
it
though.
was it was really creepy looking. I could still see it. Like it's like in the nightmare mode of movies
Yeah, that's really
where it's
sets the
like the
ambiance.
exit illuminating sign. Like that's how that lamp was. Is this weird 90s looking orange lamp.
Mm.
And it was like see through the lampshade
Mm-hmm.
part of it. It was really weird. Anyway, and we had like the panels for the walls, and it was just like this really tiny room. I think it had wallpaper. That part's always blurry to me. But every night I'd be woken up by shadow people in our room, and they'd be like crawling on the bunk beds and like just walking through our room at night.
Shadow
And I
people.
don't remember being scared of them, but
Mm-hmm.
really, really bizarre.
But what exactly are shadow people? Isn't there like an actual like thing about them? Like people have seen them?
So supposedly, I was doing some research online, and it says that they are perceived as dark humanoid figures or shadows that are thought to be living beings, spirits, or other entities. They have been part of folklore and supernatural stories for centuries and across cultures. So they've been around a long time. As a kid, you would have never thought that, but
What's interesting about that, why I feel like since so many people have seen them, and like you were a kid, you didn't know anything about like other people seeing them, so it's not really something you can make up, you know, if if you never heard
yeah.
about it before. But it's interesting that you say that because I never really thought about it. I actually haven't heard that story. I've heard quite a few of your like encounters, but I don't think I've ever heard that one when you were so young. But when I was young too, I didn't, I guess, perceive it as a shadow person. I don't really know. I knew it was shadowy, but I guess I didn't think of it in that way. But I was
Yeah, they
what?
didn't have, like, distinct features or
Yeah.
anything. They're just like a shadow of a person.
One of my first encounters is that I was walking by my bedroom down this hallway in our house that we lived in when we were younger. I guess after we moved out of the trailer. I was a baby, I think, when we moved out of the trailer. We moved in this house. There's a hallway and there's a couple rooms down this hallway. I was walking down this hallway and then out of the corner of my eye, I saw, I guess I would describe it as a shadow person. They didn't really, they had a figure sort of, but it's like no it's almost like you could put your hand through them. They were just, it was just
Yeah,
dark.
yeah.
So I saw it rummaging, what's the word? Rummaging through my bottom drawer, my underwear drawer of all things. Just kidding.
Why was
Rummage.
your underwear on the bottom drawer?
I don't know. I thought I was taught that's where your underwear goes.
Oh.
Anyways, but I was rummaging, looking for something. I don't know what I was looking for, but and I stopped. Like I walked past the room when I saw that, and I stopped, and I took one step back, and I just didn't even want to look over into the room because I didn't want to scare it. Because at first I thought maybe it was one of my siblings, like looking, trying to steal some of my clothes. So I didn't think much about it, but I was like, I
Stealing your
stopped.
underwear?
Yeah, I mean, we did that all the time as kids. Remember when we would fight over like the Meg underwear from Hercules and the uh what do they call
And
the
Critter's fuzzy underwear? Oh, goodness.
and the
Always
super
to make fun. Ugh.
the Power Ranger underwear? We had all those ones we would always fight over. I remember. But I stopped and then I, took one step back and then I slowly looked over and the door was open, but nobody was there. So, yeah.
But the drawer, you remember being closed before you walked by there?
Well, I don't know if it was
'Cause
closed or
last time you were
not.
in there,
I don't remember when I was in there, but I mean, I just know that the door is open. The door that thing was looking in, that shadow being.
there was this thing that I read the other day, and it was talking about how your peripheral can see, like, spirits or whatever. Because sometimes when you see stuff out of the corner of your eye and then you look and it's gone,
Mm-hmm.
they say that that part of your eye, or I don't know how it works,
Yeah.
can see things that aren't there. Because I was like, I still do that now, and I'll have to, like, double take, and I'm like, "Was that was something really there? Did I just imagine it?" So, was it out of, like, your peripheral, like, you saw it from the like, your side eye,
Yeah, it
or
was like
you
the corner
saw
of
it,
my
like
eye.
yeah, the corner of your eye?
It's funny
That's
because
crazy.
just yesterday, I do that all the time because we lived in such a spooky house. Every spooky things were happening all the time. Ghosts just going around stealing people's underwear. Our favorite Megan Power Ranger underwear. Like, man, we had to deal with these guys all the time. But
Yeah.
yesterday, I was walking into my room, and since we always keep the back porch light on, like I guess it shines on, what's outside. And it was putting
Mhm.
a reflection because my curtains on the outside is like kind of shimmery. I was like, I walked in the room and I saw something. I was like, there's a person outside. It was just a reflection of my curtains, but it scared my heart dropped. I was like, but it was nothing.
I feel like we still have that to this day. Like, if it's eerie, like, walking through my house when it's dark, because I get up before everyone else to go to work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, like, eerie, and sometimes I think I'll see something over by the door because we have, like, these super sheer almost curtains by the
Mm-hmm.
front door. And it doesn't help that I have skeleton stuff sitting outside on my front door with a witch hat and stuff, but, like, sometimes I think I'll, like, see something, and then I'll, like, scare myself early in the morning, and I'm, like, tell myself, nobody's here, it's just me."
Yeah, I feel like though even in every other place I've been in since that house, it hasn't felt quite as the same, I feel like there was
No.
always something lurking around the corner. That's why I'd always be like peeking around almost like when we were going to haunted houses or whatever and then waiting for someone to scare you. That's what it felt like. That's why I feel like I don't get jump scared now that I'm an adult because it takes a
Yeah,
lot to
me
jump
either.
scare me because I was always looking around the corners waiting to be scared. But we also love to scare each other around corners. The
Yeah.
laundry room was a big place that nobody wanted to go. That's where all the demons lived, I guess.
Yeah, the hallway part
Mm-hmm.
of the house is that it's haunted, and that's the add-on, and then, like, the rest of the house is pretty okay, I guess. I was like, because I don't feel like we ever really experienced things in the other parts of the house as we did in the add-on
Yeah.
of the hall with all the rooms,
And
which is so bizarre.
you have a theory about that? Why you think that we see a bunch of things in that one part of the house, the add-on?
I do, and if you keep listening, I can tell you all about it.
Yeah, all of our crazy past and
Well, we
family
have
and
some
everything.
crazy stories that I feel like continue to follow us into adulthood, but I
Yeah,
feel like it follows some of us more than others. But
we have plenty of things to talk about, that's for sure.
yeah, I even found this thing that's really interesting, and it says shadow people are a form of large emotion dropped into a frequency. They can represent unprocessed emotions like depression. They can be caused by stress from living or deceased. It can be your own depression that hasn't been cleared out of your electromagnetic zone. That's weird. I saw another thing where it was saying that it can be from like trauma or
Yeah,
oh, here it is. It says for many people this means things like your sadness, rage, laziness, or cruelty can be a cause of shadow people.
that's kind of crazy to think of. Like it might be a almost like feeding off of your emotions or the what's going on around you. Because like we were talking about all the trauma that it surrounded us, or like could
Yeah,
have
the
been the reason
sadness and
of.
the trauma, and what was the other thing it said? Rage
Mm-hmm.
and cruelty can manifest that way is something really crazy to think about, which would make perfect
Yeah, perfect
sense
sense in our case
in
for
hindsight, but
why
it's
you saw so
crazy.
many of them too.
Yeah, I would see them and I'd be awake, but I'd also have dreams and they would be there.
And it's also
And then,
interesting.
like, cause I wasn't ever scared of them, so I'm like, were they protecting me? Were they
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. You never know.
It's kind of crazy also that you're mentioning that or saying all that stuff because one of our other sisters has a very similar story of happy, but she said they were a lot smaller and they were everywhere. She wasn't scared at all. She just felt like she just didn't want to move. So that's interesting that a lot of us have seen them and like
Yeah,
felt the
and
same ways.
yeah, and I know a lot of people that when they have sleep paralysis, they see the shadow people
Hmm.
because I've thankfully only had sleep paralysis a couple times. One of them, it was an actual like thing that I saw that we can
Hmm.
always talk about later. But the other time it was just another shadow person out of nowhere, and I could only see him out of my peripheral like vision. That one I was a little scared. I think it's just because I couldn't move
Yeah.
because when I saw him as a kid, I don't remember not being able to move. I remember just being confused of
Hmm.
why
Yeah.
in my little brain trying to figure out, like, how are these things, like, moving
What
around my
is
room, and
that?
why is there so many? They'd be, like, climbing on the bed and everything, and I'd be like, "What is this? Who are these things, or what are they?" Or
Yeah. It makes me think of like horror movies where like you can see it out of the side of your vision, but then every time you look over it's gone and then you put your head back and then
yes.
that's so crazy to me too. Man, we should
I feel
make a
like I
movie
still
about
have
shadow
that.
people.
Apparently, there was a movie in, like, 2012 when I started doing research on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, they kinda look like how I would imagine them, but they're actually really tall and lanky. I remember them being they were like children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were, like, my size for that age. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like they were, like, maybe size of a four-year-old. So, here's a brief description of what I found online of what shadow people are, essentially. So, a shadow person is essentially nothing more than a dark, shadowy figure that is vaguely humanoid in appearance and just a formless mass. Sometimes it has tendrils, sometimes it doesn't. Usually there are no discernible features, though in some cases red eyes may be noted. Like this says that they have red eyes have been noted, but I also listened to some other stories where they have yellow eyes
Hmm.
and that's all they can see, or white, which is interesting. But I
Yeah.
feel like the ones that I saw, I think they might have had white eyes that I remember. So the red eyes, I haven't heard of that one, but further description mention bleh. Further descriptions mention where there is one main tail. Oh, blah, blah. Further descriptions mention where there is one main tall, shadowy figure with numerous smaller hooded shadow figures, which is really scary because I feel like I only saw small ones. But reports say that these types of shadow people are not see through, that this type is more prone to be drawn towards an individual than a particular place. As the stories and accounts of shadow people persist and grow, the descriptions being to really vary, ranging from small child-sized figures, tall with a jack-o'-lantern head, and those of a tall figure wearing a hat. Some of the sightings of shadow people are reported to be mainly in Rhode Island and North Carolina in the United States.
Hmm.
Hmm. Some people claim that they have been attacked physically with scratches and burns. Others tell how they have been choked or attacked in their sleep during sleep paralysis attack.
You know what I find very interesting is that we're
What?
you what you were describing, like before we even read this, it was talking about how people describe them as being like little children or like little.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
interesting how it
Weird,
adds
isn't it?
up. Yeah. But I'll go ahead and let you read about, because I was thinking about this when I thought about shadow people. There's a meme and just basically creepypasta too about people saying a person they describe as the Hat Man.
Yes. So the Hat Man, this type of specific shadow being of the Hat Man specifically, is described to some as wearing a top hat or a fedora, is what I've heard in some of the other things that I read, and a
Mm-hmm.
suit. This one generally is seen being more demonic or evil in nature, so I'm thankful I didn't see him. This being was identified by the author Heidi Hollis, who says that this being and others like it are trying to build an army for the dark side. No, no, no,
What is
no,
this,
no,
Star
no.
Wars?
Right? Twilight Zone. Apparently, there's a Twilight Zone. I read there's a Twilight Zone episode about shadow people.
That's
It is
another
also
thing we could talk
strongly
about.
likely. Yeah. It is also strongly likely that the appearance of this shadow man is influenced by pop culture in terms of movies of Nightmare on Elm Street series and in preparation or no series in the urban legends. I don't remember if well, I guess it is an urban legend. The Hatman's probably an urban legend.
It's been around for a while.
So, or Nightmare on Elm Street and the urban legends have similar stories. It says.
Okay, I had an interesting thought when I was listening to all the information you were giving me. You know what you were saying, like some see him with red eyes, some see him with white eyes, some see him with
Or
yellow
yellow,
eyes.
even, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if the eyes indicate if it's bad or not, like a demon, like the Hat Man seen with red
Right?
eyes, and it's taller, but the children maybe, or the smaller ones with white eyes, maybe be like more like guardian spirit type things, you know? I wonder if that's the
Maybe.
case. And the yellows just kind of
Yeah.
like don't care, they're just rogue, maybe walking around.
Yeah, there was also this story I read on Reddit, or it was like Wattpad, I think,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Yeah.
that someone wrote, they wrote in the comments, so this wasn't the actual, like, published
Story.
story.
Yeah.
He said that, um, he would leave for work. He rode on a bike to work. And he would have to yeah, he said he'd have to get it'd take him, like, 2 hours to ride on a bike to work or
He
something,
was
but he would
dedicated.
have to get up before the sun came up, so he had to be up at, like, 6 a.m. or something, and he would go outside, and he would see him lined up by the fence as he would leave for work every day,
Wow.
and he said he saw him for, like, months and months and months. He said one time he had the sense that it was chasing him, and he got all paranoid, and he said he tried to pedal faster, like, trying to get away from it. That's not funny, but, I
It's
mean,
kind of
I wouldn't
funny.
be funny in the situation, yeah. And he said he would just see him, and he said he got so used to see him that they didn't scare him anymore, and he said one day they just stopped.
Hmm.
But they would literally be lined up outside his house as he was walking towards his bike to leave for work. Isn't that creepy?
That is creepy, but it also makes me think like, yeah, it really does seem like some of them are type of guardian spirits, some of them are demons or evil.
And I have a friend that I was making a joke because we always make morbid jokes about our
Mm-hmm.
childhood or whatever, and I was telling her how I saw shadow people just joking around. I mean, I was serious because it actually did happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, she private messaged me and she said, "Did you really see shadow people?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And she was like, "I've been seeing them my whole life." And, like, they'll cause her to have sleep paralysis.
That,
We had similar backgrounds where she grew up in a really rough, abusive household, and so, I mean, from what I've read, I mean, that correlates with kinda like our stories of why she
mm-hmm.
sees them, and she said she still sees them.
I wonder if it ends with the people that they're attached to, passing, or if it would end if you were able to deal with that trauma, or maybe if that person that was causing all that to persist is still in the life or still around, maybe. I wonder what makes it end.
I wonder that too, because I feel like it says, it can have, people have depression and stuff, which I
Mm-hmm.
have, and I know our dad, was clinically depressed as well,
Yeah.
and I mean makes me wonder if he ever saw him, but
Well, he did. Well, he did see stuff though, because even when he would tell us that, and then we would like, run with it, and he'd be like, "No, no, actually, no, I don't think I did," but he did. He saw him a lot, and he
he
just didn't want to
definitely
mention
did.
it. The times he did mention it, he almost regret because I guess that we were like, because I guess maybe he didn't want to scare us, or maybe he didn't want to believe
And
it
we're like, "We're
himself.
not crazy, we actually did see that
Yeah.
stuff, and we've been playing it off because, that's what we do."
Going into that, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but one time we were all sitting in the living room. It was after you and the other older siblings, moved out. It was just us five younger kids. We were all sitting in the living room or the hallway. There was two rooms almost like, right across from each other. So he said, "Hey, who's up running back and forth to those two rooms?" And we all looked at each other. We knew we were all there. All of our siblings are there, there. I looked around, I was saying like, "Okay, you're there, you're here, you're here." Okay, no one's here. He's like, "Who are you hiding back there?" And we're like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then mom was like, Everybody's here. What are you saying? No, someone's back there. Someone just ran. Who's hiding here? Why are you playing a trick on me? Like, and we just like, we got started getting scared. Like, someone's in the house. Someone's in the house. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
And so he's just like kept saying that and getting like, he started getting really mad, and we're just like, nobody's here, nobody's here. And then we're like, okay, let's go back there and look. He didn't want to go look. He said no, no, like he was scared. And so we ended up
That's
going
crazy.
looking, and then we're like, nobody's here. But yeah, he wouldn't believe us. He thought we were hiding someone.
How old were you when that was happening?
I was probably 18 or about to turn
Oh
18.
wow. So it's like that wasn't even that long
Yeah.
ago. Like that's crazy. Do you remember of it happening or dad doing that later on?
Well, I
Like even
think
after that?
it was almost
Like
right
saying he
before.
was seeing stuff?
Yeah. I think it was almost right before all that his health issues started happening, like right before his heart attack and stuff. Who knows?
Or maybe he was seeing what was coming for him.
Yeah. He was scared. Like you would think any other time he would have got right up, and went and looked because he thought we were
He
all
got his
lying.
BB gun to go
Yeah.
see what was going on.
But he
Yeah.
didn't. He didn't want to go look.
That's trippy.
The way he was acting, we actually were scared to go look at first because we thought it could be an actual person because we didn't think he was, saying it was a ghost. We just like we knew he saw something, and he's not one to be like, joshing about something or joking. If he sees it,
Yeah,
he really thinks
especially
that he
stuff
sees
like
it.
that. Because I feel like how he always approached it is he would get on to us like, "What were you doing this?" And we're like, "We didn't." And he was like, "Yeah, I saw you." And we're like,
Yeah.
"Well, it wasn't me. I don't know who you saw. We were all in bed."
The most memorable, I think, one to me when he saw something, and that's when I kind of like started to be like, something is going on, is when, my two younger sisters went over to our grandparents, and then I
Mhm.
got a call, mom saying, hey, did you guys come over here? And I was like, huh? What? How did we get over there? That's before I like could drive. So he's like, your dad swears that he saw one of you guys looking at him when he was on the computer through the door. Because kind of that's what we would do when we
Like the
wanted to say
doorway.
something. Yeah, when he was in his office, we would kind of like stand in the
Yeah.
doorway wanting like ask him something or whatever. We're too scared to ask him something. No, your dad said one of you guys were here. I'm like, there's no way we could have got there. Like, how did we get there? Granny and Papa would have to, take us over there to get there at that point, or we'd have to walk all that way, and we weren't
Yeah.
gonna do that. And so when we got home, he was like, which one of you were here doing this? Blah, blah. He's like, it was a girl. He just kind of saw the figure of a girl, kind of like a younger girl, but had bright
Mhm.
pink shorts on. We called her the fuchsia shorts girl because that's what he said. He didn't say pink. He always said fuchsia, fuchsia. He was very specific on fuchsia. I don't know
He
why.
knew his colors because he was a cartoonist, probably,
Yeah, I
so
guess
he had
so.
to accurate.
Fuchsia shorts. The girl in the fuchsia shorts is what we called her because he's like, she had really long hair, like, a younger sister or youngest sister, but she was the height of me. And I was like,
Mhm.
And so at first, he was like, it could be someone that we've lost. That's what he kind of
Yeah,
put
because
it
we
to.
always saw a little girl. So
Mm-hmm.
when they did actually materialize and look like something, not just like a shadow,
Yeah.
it looked like a little girl. And all of us saw the little girl that had dark hair,
Yeah.
and you and two of our other sisters are the only ones who had the same hair color
Mm-hmm.
and like similar hair colored length.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know what our passed on sister looked
Yeah.
like as an adult.
So
So it
similar to
makes me
us for a
wonder
little
how
bit.
long dad was actually seeing her. Because, well, I
Yeah.
feel like I didn't remember him start questioning us and probably till I was in like my mid teens, maybe preteens, is when he
Mm-hmm.
really started like saying, like questioning us about stuff. And I'd always get confused because he'd usually do it like, I feel like on Sunday mornings or something and be
Yeah.
like, what were you doing this? And we're like, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
We weren't even there.
But the thing is, when he said that he tried to, confront her, he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" She just stood there and didn't stare at him because he said he didn't really see her face, but just stood there. The figure stood there
Because
and
she had
just
like
stared.
long bangs
Yeah.
or whatever. So we
Even
could
when
never tell who it was.
he knew it wouldn't be one of us because if he would have confronted us or yelled at us, we would have been gone. She just stood there and stared, almost like watching him, like over him. Maybe if he was, who knows what was going on, but like she wasn't scared of him. She didn't leave. She didn't run away like we would have done. She just slowly,
Yeah.
when he got up and he like moved more into the light, like she slowly just like vanished from his vision. Like,
Yeah, I remember him saying she just, like, was there and then wasn't there.
Mhm.
But even when I saw her out of my peripheral and she was, like,
Mhm.
looking in my room. It was in the same hallway. The only other room that was down the hall from the room that he saw her in. And
Mhm.
I feel like I saw her, like, way later. I was probably, like, 17 or something.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. And it was like, I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I decided to take a shower and I was blow drying my hair and she was in my doorway. But I could only see half of her and I couldn't see her face. I could
Mhm.
see like an eye and like maybe like partial face and I could tell she had dark hair, but it was like she was sitting on the floor and looking in.
Mhm.
And so I
That's
thought
even
it was our
creepier.
younger sister and I went over to her room that was across the hallway from me and she was dead asleep and I'm like, oh, that's weird.
It also makes
But
me kind of think like it's almost like his guilt was getting after him because it just felt like it progressed over time. And that's only why I think he mentioned it eventually, is because it kept happening, almost like he felt like something was chasing him, impending doom almost in some type of way. Because, like I
yeah.
said, right, he saw that almost right before he had that massive heart attack, almost like something was looming over him that he wasn't confronting.
Well, they say it can be from like repressed emotions
Mm-hmm.
or repressed like things that have happened. Like, who knows if it's something that's been following him his whole life and it just finally caught up to him
Yeah.
right before he had his heart attack.
Yeah.
But then, on that note, it makes me wonder if dad did something he was running from. Since he's been gone, we haven't seen her.
I
And
wanted to say that, but I was like, I don't want to allude to that fact because it just seems so odd how almost she was haunting him, but she was
yeah,
around.
and so we would just randomly see her, and I never felt fear when I saw her. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like weirded out, but then also I tried to play it off. But it makes me wonder if he did something and that when he started losing his like sense of reality,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe it was she was coming for him, and so his guilt couldn't handle it, and so he just kept seeing her.
Yeah, like you were reading about the shadow people of like, I think it might have just been a manifestation of yeah his guilt in some type of
Yeah,
way because that's
yeah.
kind of what it seems like they were saying shadow people are or why we see them. It's all very
Really,
interesting.
thinking about it now, I'm just like, man, now I wonder. But
All the people we were surrounded by that did similar things or much just as terrible things. It's like we were surrounded by that also.
yeah, we are surrounded by that bad energy and
Yeah.
just bad people in general.
But also on a positive note, I almost feel like in some sense, if you try to think of it in a positive way, maybe in some way it was a guardian angel. Because I fully believe in like think of guardian angels, all the stories I've heard, but like someone looking over you, protecting you
Yeah,
in some type of way. Maybe her being around caused him not to do this or that, or you know what I'm saying? Seeing something that
maybe,
stopped
yeah.
him.
Maybe because he'd be scared, yeah.
And I know it scared him because I saw it scare
And even in folklore, they'll say that they look like people that you know, even
him.
like in Smile, for example.
Yeah.
Like they lure you by looking like someone you know. And then dad obviously saw someone that looked like someone he would know.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, she never talked, which I'm kind of glad. Because then, because you think about how, like, they say, like, entities and stuff can mimic people's voices.
Yes, but then it's
And
always distinctive where I think that's a lot of the reason why they don't talk is because they can't perfectly, that's when they would be thrown off. They would be caught
yeah,
because they can't perfectly be someone else.
sound like someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost like a skinwalker. There's skin, we were talking about skinwalkers. Skinwalkers can look like someone, but they give themselves away when they start trying to talk because there's not really a way for them to mimic that. We can very, I feel like we were talking about us being more empathic um being able to sense people or when something is wrong. I feel like people in general can sense when someone's off, like whether they're like they turn out to be a murderer or a serial killer or something's really off about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
Yeah. Yeah.
have this way of sensing things when something is wrong, and I think that's why people love the ideas of skinwalkers or things that are eerie, or they call it uncanny valley, when something
Go
looks
ahead.
so human but it's just that little tiny bit of being off that people inherently
Question, you're
yeah
like,
inherently can
"Hmm,
see when something's off, and that's when they like where they can't trick us fully. You can only be tricked to a certain extent. There's always
yeah,
that little very much that uncanny valley that I feel like everybody's dealt with in some time, like when you're watching a movie where the animation is so close to being human but we don't like it or it makes us uncomfortable because we know it's not human but it's something trying to be human. that we can just tell it's not. When some people have mental issues, it's like, how do we know that they do? Usually by looking at them we can tell that something's off, you know? Not
Yeah.
even like in a mean way. It's just like, it's I feel like almost everybody can tell when somebody's a little off.
But then it makes me wonder, so I go down a lot of rabbit holes, honestly, but
Mhm.
I was listening to this Medium podcast,
Mhm.
and they talk about how, like, even with, like, seeing people and stuff, they even have, like, mediums that go on there. It's basically like different mediums telling their stories. It's really good. They were like, everyone has the gift sensing stuff, like spirits or entities or
Mhm.
whatever they are.
Because our
Just some
world's mixed
people
with them.
choose, yeah, it's like, but you neither choose to like embrace and kind of learn the gift. I feel like us, we were all too scared, so we kind of just like pushed it away. Like, oh, it's probably not real instead of leaning into it. Like
Mhm.
even some of the ladies with median gifts were like, "Oh, I literally had a near death experience which brought it back," and then they embraced it, and then they like see like more like beings and stuff like that, which is like crazy to think about. It would have been different if we would have like openly tried to find out who this girl was instead of being scared of her, like who she was and if she was trying to tell us something.
I also feel like, though, our world is attached to that, especially if you believe in
Yeah.
God and the devil and all, the spiritual side. We're constantly in that, like, we're separate from it, but it's still together in some sort of way. But I also feel like we were talking about with skinwalkers or people, things that are uncanny. I feel like a lot of the time, what would a demon or, a spirit or a fallen angel that what are they trying to do? They're going to not come to us like they're a little ghoul running around with got red horns and a pickaxe, pitchfork,
Yeah.
acting like they're Steve from Minecraft. They are going to come to us looking like something we already know or recognize, almost to fool us or like maybe go bring us down a path that that we're thinking that, oh, I can speak to my dead loved ones or something like that, when it could just be a demon looking like, or something looking like something that we know, but they're not. They're just not
Yeah.
our loved ones. It could have been a demon because they attach to people, uh,
Yeah, or yeah, an entity or whatever.
and
Yeah.
it could have been the reason why it looked like a little girl to us, or even just attaching to dad so it could stay around, but almost like the demon attaching to him of maybe something he's done and the evil he
Yeah.
was letting in and being in and involved in and not stopping around him from the people in his life, even,
Yeah.
or let into his life, or let be around us too.
Yeah, and then I feel like even now we're always like, well, maybe, well, dad definitely had he had mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, then I'm like, I wonder if he had more than just that.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I was thinking, I was reading on some more on the shadow people and saying people with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or bipolar disorder may experience them.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was bipolar, because I know you and I talked about, like, we wonder if he was,
Yeah.
because we think,
Even by his just
one of
by
our
his
other
medicines are
sisters is.
taken.
And then sleep paralysis is when people see shadow people, which is when I would see them with sleep paralysis.
Mm-hmm.
This heightened emotion. People may interpret a shadow as an attacker when they are experiencing strong emotions such as stress, fatigue, and anxiety.
But also, like you're saying, I think it was it was all a mix of that too. All the medicines he was on, and he had severe depression and anxiety and anger. He didn't know how to control his emotions. Like all that could have just, accumulated into this thing that almost to putting a shared delusion. All what does that say? Shared hysteria and delusion on us too. That all that stuff building up that he
Yeah.
wasn't dealing with, and whatever secrets he was holding too.
It's one thing I wish I could know. I wonder what what what's attached to him that brought all that. Which I mean, obviously the people that he's involved with could also have been,
That's what I'm thinking. He
they
wasn't
piggyback onto him
it,
because maybe it wasn't something he did per se.
yeah,
It was attached to someone and then it piggybacked off
yeah,
of our dad
because of all the
and brought it
trauma he
into
has
our
in his
home.
life.
Yeah.
and all the depression he had. I think it could have just attached to him. But well, because we know the evil people that were surrounding him and had a big influence on him, because he didn't used to be like that. Like after he had that
Mhm.
the brain traumatic
Well, he
brain
even
thing.
said he saw the devil, like, coming after him or
Mm-hmm.
whatever right before he was it after he had surgery or
Yeah,
before he had
when he was in
surgery?
the hospital, it was coming for him.
And it
That's
was
why he
telling
like
him he
tore
was
out all
gonna
the
die.
stuff. Yeah, and ran away.
He used to get super upset, like, when doctors would tell him he was gonna die
Yeah.
young. He would get really upset about
Mm-hmm.
it, and I'm like, I'm wondering if what this entity was like this following him around telling him, like, "Your time's almost up,
Yeah.
like, your days are numbered," like, which it is for everyone, but if you had something constantly following you as a
Yeah.
reminder of that, coulda made him way more paranoid.
Yeah. And it's almost like him being scared about that could have created that thing that he just saw all the
Mhm.
time following him. Because yeah, that would be a traumatic experience if you just woke up from almost dying and had brain surgery, all of a sudden seeing the devil come after you and you feel like you're constantly trying to run away from it. And I feel like that's, yeah, like you said, I was literally talking to someone about that the other day. We were talking about him and saying like how he kept doing the bad things that he was doing, and the doctor said, "Oh, you're gonna die if you keep doing this." And he gets so mad. I'm not going back to him because he's telling me I'm gonna die. I'm like, brother, that's what's gonna happen because you won't
Mhm.
listen. Like, I don't
Exactly
understand
what
why you're
he
mad.
died at 60.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm like,
he was telling you the truth. He's trying to warn you. He's like, that person's
yeah.
so mean. I'm like, okay then. That make no sense.
Mhm.
He looked up to a literal evil person because he wanted a dad so bad. Ended up getting in cozy with a literal living demon himself,
Yeah.
which is a story for another day, for real, for real.
Mhm. I was looking at this Reddit stuff about the dead Jin. I don't know if the D is
Mm-hmm.
silent, but then it'd be just Jin, which I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's right.
You could always do Google Translate where they say the word for you and then put it in the like
Yeah.
put it up.
So I don't butcher it because I do that with words a lot
I
of the
mean,
time.
if you try, that's another thing I always think is funny. You know, when people are like, I'm sorry if I said that name wrong or that word wrong. I'm like, I'm trying to say it the best I can. Of course, you're not going to say it just like, a person of their native tongue because you're not going to have the way of pronouncing things as easy. But as long as you're trying, I don't think there's any harm in that.
Because it says it is believed that dead jinns they're from Middle Eastern lore and theology. Shadow people are believed to be and described as Djinn. Djinn, I don't know. They are a separate class of paranormal beings, distinct from ghosts, spirits, demons, fairies, and other paranormal categories. Though the Djinn is also used for demons, it is believed Djinns, shadow people, are paranormal or interdimensional beings or entities that populate the earth much like humans, but it is a different dimension or plane of existence.
Hmm.
They reproduce and have offspring similar to humans and love to squat in abandoned houses and old structures where no human lives in. I'm like, well, that's not accurate because we saw them and there are people in our house.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
and
very
there
interesting,
where
though.
this is, you know.
Though before anybody lived in that house, it was an abandoned old KOA.
I know. I feel like we should do some research into that too
Yeah,
and find out so we can tell listeners about it
yeah,
because I'm like super curious
yeah,
of what that land and stuff was
yes.
before that building was on there, and then before we moved into it and remodeled it all.
That would be a great like IRL video to do. Like
Yeah.
go to that house and then kind of go tell the lore, and then go to the different spots. I think that would really help to for have a visual of what we're saying eventually on our YouTube. You
If you
can
want to send us stories, because getting fan stories would be awesome
yeah, love hearing
to talk about.
like especially like going on with along with our podcast. Like I feel like at the end of our podcast we can read stories that either go along with our podcast that we just had before, like the week before, like say
Or read
people were yeah,
comments.
yeah, I can't wait to be doing all that. So make sure you comment and you
Like, subscribe.
yeah, and make sure you rate our Spotify too, our Spotify podcast. That will always help
Yeah.
push us because we're going for a goal. What's that goal? That someone told us if we could do.
10,000 subscribers, is that what
Yes.
it is?
Mm-hmm. So
Yep.
we're trying to get to that. If you can help us out, we'll be eternally grateful.
We can do a video of actually investigating a haunted house.
Yes, if you get us to our goal. Yeah, we
A legit haunted house.
yeah. Oh,
Get us there.
mhm. And in the meantime, we can investigate our haunted house, our humble
Yeah.
abode.
Or ones that are close to us that
Mhm.
are easy to get to. In either of our states.
So, what are our closing thoughts and statements about this?
My question for our listeners, have you seen shadow people? Do you think they're real? Do you
Nope.
think it's a bunch of heebie-jeebie?
Yeah, if you think that and if you think they're real, what do you think that they are? Like, do you think they're like a manifestation of trauma and depression? Do you think it's an actual other being? Do you think it's a demon? Like, that's what we're trying to figure out right now.
Yeah, I want to
Do you
know.
think they're
Do you think they're
squatters?
from like we read on that Reddit thing that they're like in another dimension, so that's why
Yeah.
we see them as shadows, and they actually like they
That's also
exist
a
just not
cool
in
concept
art.
for a
Like
movie.
that's like a whole nother like okay, like my brain just fizzed out. Like what?
Yeah. That's actually a
That's too
cool.
hard for my little brain to be like. I don't even know where to go with that.
Yeah.
That's a lot to comprehend.
Hmm. And that's also, like I said, that's a pretty cool idea for a movie, thinking about that kind of stuff. But like thinking that they're just little shadows that are squatters that are in another dimension that just stay away from humans and empty buildings. It's
It's
kind of
saying
funny.
that they can have babies, they can
Yeah.
reproduce other
What?
shadow people. I'm like, but why?
They're like, we gotta go haunt other people in abandoned buildings. That's why we.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we need to go and find an abandoned building and try to find some shadow squatters. That's
Yes,
what we need
the
to do.
shadow. That will be the name, the Shadow Squatters.
Searching for the shadow squatters. Yes.
Squatting old houses.
And if you want to see
Oh,
that,
that's
all you have to do is
hilarious.
subscribe. Get us to
Yeah,
10,000.
you want to see us find shadow squatters?
Yeah.
Subscribe to our channel, and
We will get
you'll
the actual proof.
we will find proof of shadow squatters.
Yeah, no faking it here, believe us. We not be faking nothing.
Nope. Okay, Google friends, make sure you lock your doors and check your windows.
Because you never know what's lurking outside in the night. Doom, 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 doom. Yeah,
Ooh.
we do our own spooky music.